back with another one. Aimee, did I tell you what I titled this stream?
Is it what I just read?
What did you just read?
Am I wrong?
No, that's the thumbnail.
Oh, okay. Then no, you didn't.
It's Aimee insists on adopting 3 children. Hashtag clickbait. All right. Today, if you were with us last week, we did a little bit of a Reddit read. And I think we did as Ask Women, Ask Men, those Reddit, those I guess subreddit groups. Mm-hmm. And this time we were in another subreddit group, and it's more scenario based with a few details. We'll go through those scenarios, and then we'll have some discussion. Of course, if you're tuning in, let us know where you're watching from. If you're right here in San Antonio or you're somewhere else, we want to know. We want to shout you out. Just put it in a comment. We'll be able to see it right on our screen over here, which is a little bit out of shot. But if you're watching the video, of course, you're seeing this screen has our comments. So there we go. All right.
Yes.
Scenario number 1.
Okay.
Would you like to go?
Yeah.
Or because it's the thumbnail, should we save yours for the second or third to keep people a little bit on the hook? A little element of suspense.
Okay.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll go.
Element of suspense.
Let's see. We have scenario number 1. And to be transparent, this is from the AITAH. Am I the bad word? It's kind of like am I the jerk, but in more.
Am I the asshole?
The more crude language. See, now what you did, what you okay. So it is.
Oh well.
Okay. The scenario number 1. Am I the jerk for saying I wouldn't go kick the behind of the guy who beat up one of my female coworkers?
Oh, automatically domestic violence.
I know, right into it.
Straight into domestic violence.
All right. I was in the break room eating lunch, and one of the women I work with was describing to another male coworker how she was beaten by her boyfriend, and that is why she didn't show up for work the day before, because she was too sore. She went on to say he refuses to leave their studio apartment, and she won't contact the police. The male coworker then turns to me and says to her, me and him will go and kick his behind if he won't leave, won't we? I just shook my head no and didn't say anything. And they both looked at me in surprise. Anyway, she hasn't really spoken to me since and will hardly look at me since this incident. I think it's messed up when men beat their girlfriends, but I'm not a tough guy, and I'm not about to get shot over someone I barely know.
Ooh.
What is your advice to this Redditor?
Is he the jerk? No, I don't think he's being a jerk. I mean, that's none of his business, especially if she doesn't want to go to the police. Just because she doesn't want to go to the police doesn't mean that this guy's not going to go to the police, and then he's going to go to jail, and he wasn't even the one who beat her.
So, do you think you're speaking from a place of a female privilege, where females maybe don't have the same pressure or expectations of men to go defend another woman from another man?
Yeah, of course. I'm speaking from female privilege. Ooh, I don't know. Especially if she doesn't want to go to the police, it's hard, you know.
Yeah.
What can you say? Because I think they will kick him out if she goes to the police and tells, but.
Yeah.
Also, where's her dad?
Okay. Well, so what's the ideal response? So clearly the response that the Redditor had did not resonate with the people, right? So it's the coworker. There's the woman coworker telling another male coworker about the problem. They look over. He said he just shook his head and was like, no. And pretty much he looked like a coward. He looked bad. He looked poor. He looked like he wouldn't come to the rescue, right? He looks.
Yeah.
He doesn't look very alpha. He doesn't look very confident. Doesn't look secure. What's the best response to maybe mean the same thing? Like, would it be, hey, I'll come over there, and then be like 911, or like, what is it?
The best way to look without actually having to do it.
Yeah.
Maybe just being, for real, and even just saying like, we'll go over there with you, and you talk to him, and if he starts doing anything to you, yeah, like maybe we'll jump in, but. If anything happens, we're going to call the police. Like we'll go over there with you. We'll be there with you while you try to get him to leave. And if there's, y'all are trying to resolve this conflict or y'all talking to each other, we're not going to get involved. But if anything happens, we'll pull him off of you and we will call the police. But,
yeah,
maybe that would, because then it's not like you're specifically going over to beat this guy up,
Yeah. Yeah, it is a tricky situation. So maybe the question I'll put out there is there any scenario where you would advise one of the men in your life, whether it's like me as a brother or any of your brothers or your husband or your
Dad.
son when he's at that age, or dad, to go over in this type of scenario? Like, again,
if I'm the girl?
No. This is not you. This is either it could be your relative or your friend where you would ask one of the men in your circle to go over
and
in this scenario.
Beat him up, or just to go over there to be there.
Well, that's the thing too. Like to go over there one time to get your stuff, or I mean, you clearly it's not like an ongoing permanent security situation.
Yeah.
But or would you be like, no, there's no circumstance or situation where you would advise any of the men you care about to go over there and be present?
Especially not for like a coworker. For sure not for like a coworker.
Yeah.
I wouldn't advise anybody to do that. Like even let's say something happened in my family. Like I feel like if anybody in our family decides that that's what they want to do, I don't have to tell them. Like let's say something happened to someone in our family, like a girl in our family. Am I going to have to tell, my brothers, my dad, my husband, or all of them to go do that? Like, if they don't want to do it.
No, let's say they don't know about it.
Oh.
And then you tell again, your brother or your dad or husband or son, and you tell them about it, and they say, Aimee, what should I do? Is there any circumstance or situation, any condition where you'd go like, go over there?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's so hard. I don't want anybody to get in trouble or go to jail.
Well, you know what's interesting about some of what's happened, I think, later on in my life? So when I was younger, I feel like I would want to almost do everything or anything that I could to jump in and serve or help or whatever. Then when I got older, and then you start thinking of options. So now I think of, okay, option A is me going. What's option B, C, and D? You know what I'm saying? Like, how can I maybe solve this problem? Like even as somebody who's American and who's grown up and who's good or bad, your possessions grow as you move forward. So sometimes people ask to borrow certain possessions. They'll ask to use different equipment or like speakers or microphones and stuff like that. And sometimes I'm like, yeah, I'm not trying to have you borrow. But so say a friend asked me to borrow it. I might go no, but I'm somebody who I'm willing to pay you to rent them. I'll give you the money to rent it because I don't want you to use mine, but I'll pay you to rent it. So I'm okay doing that kind of a favor. Let's say you don't got money. Okay, cool, I got you. So now let's bring it back. So female coworkers asking for the support to go in and help with this situation. Would I go? Would I pay for a bodyguard to go? Like, is it also, is it a beatdown? Or is it, hey, I'm coming in to check in and make sure everything's okay for her to get her stuff?
Yeah.
All these things are questions that hop up in my mind, and I'm going, But even the question that was posed to him is that we'll go beat him up for you. I wonder if I would flex in the moment. Yeah, we got you, girl. Like, we'll go over there. But like, I wonder how serious the other guy was too. Did the coworker end up going? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
As opposed to just talking a good game, but hey, you ain't really gonna do nothing.
Yeah, I do think it's talking up a good game.
Okay,
too.
it also depends on the coworker who says, hey, let's go beat him up. How big is that coworker? Because if that's a tiny little scrawny guy, that I'm like, I'm gonna do all the work and you're gonna be over there, I got your back. I got way back, you know?
Yeah.
So I think I do pause and think through that situation. I might go, you know what? That's a condition that's relevant to my activity.
Yeah. And on top of that, what kind of relationship, how long has she been in this relationship? Did they know about this relationship? If she's been in this long-term relationship, she has these guy friends at work. I mean, they weren't actively at work. They were chilling in the
break room. They were having lunch, probably.
So she's having lunch with these guys, this guy, and she's supposedly in a relationship.
So you're blaming her? You're blaming the victim?
I'm not blaming her. But to me, it's like, okay, like, how close are you to these guys? Yeah. On top of that, not like it's her fault for whatever, but it's like, do they think, in my mind, I'm thinking like, if that guy thinks he has a chance with her, you know, especially considering the situation, if he thinks he has a chance with her, of course he's gonna say, yeah, we can go beat him up for you. Like everybody wants to be a knight in shining armor, you know, come in and save the girl and then end up with her.
Yeah.
But that's where my mind was at right now.
Yeah. Now, the question is, have I ever been in that situation and showed up for somebody? That answer is yes. So somebody called me and asked me to go be present because she was afraid of boyfriend doing something crazy. So to go over and just be there. I have done that. Now, was it the smartest thing? Again, looking back, I go, was that the smartest thing to do? I don't really know. And it seemed as he hadn't done anything yet, but the idea of the threat of him doing something was enough. And I remember even on my way over there, I called another friend. I said, hey, I'm going to go for this situation. And he's like, hey, bro, if you need me to go over there too, I'll go. So I think that also adds on to, again, when we're talking about A, B, C, or D, is it, hey, two of us are going to go? Or no, I'm going to call all my guys who can fight. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Or all my guys who actually stay in the gym or something like that. And it's now it's 7 of us going. Now, we might all 7 get shot, and then it's a whole other problem.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is stuff like that can happen. I think about, wait, what are all my options? Can I pay a security guard? Can I pay somebody who's in that, who's like a bouncer? Even with we can shout out the facility that we rent now in our family.
The venue.
What's the name of it?
Oh, yeah. The Garden Heights West venue.
Garden Heights West. Shout out to Garden Heights West. That's in our family. It's a venue that we rent out. And in renting it out, my sister, our sister Diamond, reached out to me and asked me if I knew any bodyguards, or security guards.
Yes.
And then so I put that on Facebook, and then friends tagged their friends who are security guards. So again, now you have this in your network of security guards or bouncers or people that are physically able to go over for situations.
Yeah.
That, again,
that know how to de-escalate things instead of just beating them up.
And professionally do that on a regular basis.
Yeah.
So I think, and I don't know how skilled they are in de-escalation as opposed to actually getting physical. But
but they're probably big enough to just, intimidate people to
exactly.
not de-escalate.
That's why I said that coworker, he better be looking like like The Rock. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Understandable.
All right.
Okay.
Should we jump to the next one, or do you have anything else?
Nope.
All right.
Jump to the next one.
All right. Go ahead. Okay. This might be a longer one, y'all. So buckle up.
All right. So which one should I do? Let's see.
You want to do the headline, or you want to put the headline back one more?
Let's put it back one more. I'm going to read this one, and it says, am I the jerk for ruining my kid's life after she ruined a dress? Let's see. X, 31, and I, 32M, had C, F, 16. Way too young.
Are you going to break these things down in case anybody doesn't know the...
Okay, so I guess it's the guy, he's 32, and his ex-wife is 31, have the child that is a female 16.
Yeah.
Okay, so he said that they had them way too young. One big rule we share is if our daughter breaks something, she pays for it. Now, my sister, 27, and I are the only grandkids. Aunt never married. Instead, she worked with Grandma and Grandpa at their seamstress store, and it took over when they retired. My sister's girlfriend, 29, proposed last year. Grandpa offered to make future sister-in-law a custom suit. which she was over the moon about. Grandma had me ask my sister about what her dream dress was and record the conversation. Sis, thinking it was just between us, told me in great detail what her dream dress was. Those said it was way too expensive, so she would get something much cheaper. Well, a few months later, Grandma surprised Sis with her dream wedding dress. It fit perfectly and everyone cried. Grandma sadly recently passed away, which hit us all hard. Sis was devastated, but decided that the dress meant Grandma would still be there with us at the wedding. The issue comes when C, my daughter, she's a very large, much larger than my sister, girl. 3 days ago, we decided to go visit my sister and see how she was doing. It was great, but then C asked if she could try on the dress. Sis politely said no. C made a face, but dropped it. Later, we decided to go grab dinner. Sis and I went to pick up our orders, but C decided to stay and play with my sister's dog. We got back and the dress was destroyed. C had apparently tried it on, popped some C's, and got stuck. Instead of waiting for help, she cut her way out with scissors. The dress hacked to bits. Sis was devastated and asked us to leave. I grounded C and called Aunt with some pictures, asking if it could be saved. She said there was no way. She said she'd make a new one, but it wasn't the same. Then she dropped the bomb on me. Grandma had hand-sewn most of the dress, used super expensive fabric, put almost 500 hours into making that dress, since it was the only family wedding we'd have. In total, the dress cost $12,000, give or take. C has about $15,000 saved from various jobs, as well as winning writing competition. This was supposed to help her in college. I took her to the bank and set in motion transferring the funds. Since as her parent, I still have control over it. $12,000 to Aunt to pay for the new dress, $3,000 to my sister's wedding as an emotional distress tax. I explained exactly why this was happening to C, but she sobbed the entire time, asking what she was supposed to do for college and saying it wasn't her fault. I told her she could get a job if she didn't get a scholarship. And it was her fault for trying on the dress after she'd been told no and not waiting until we got back. A few popped seams could have been fixed. Hacking the dress to pieces couldn't. C told my ex while she agreed C was in the wrong after the full story, she thought I shouldn't have ruined her future for a free dress. I reminded her of our rule, and she still thinks I'm wrong. So, am I the jerk here?
Woo-hoo-hoo. Dang, that was quite a roller coaster ride.
Right? I thought that one was a good one.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
See, the child is, you said 15 or 16?
16 years old.
15 or 16. Okay. And then the writer is
the dad.
The dad who's also kind of debating with his ex-wife, which is the mom.
The mom.
Did he ruin the daughter's life?
Yes.
Because of the money given to his sister, which is the $12,000 for a new dress, which is
insane.
$12,000.
Yeah.
No one.
Not to include the sentimental value, you know.
And right. And I suppose, yeah. And then the $3,000 for the emotional distress.
Yeah. So I had been through the updates too. So I've actually read the updates also. And the dress was not just, it was out of spite. So she purposely cut the dress up. Is found out later. She purposely cut the dress up into pieces. And then she said she did it because she was jealous, because she was upset that she wasn't going to get to have a dress.
Yeah.
That made by the grandma. So she felt like if she couldn't have a dress, no one could.
This brings me to my point about high blood pressure. This past week, the last few times I went to the doctor's office, The doctor has brought in, I guess it's the medical assistants or whoever who come in. They put the strap on you, and then they feel like they bring me. They pull it on the last minute, and then I'm also kind of getting anxious about my doctor's appointment in the first place. And they put the strap on you, and I'm like, I haven't got a chance to calm down yet. Hold on, wait. So my blood pressure has been a little bit high these past few times, but this past week, my wife and I were at HEB, and they have this is the grocery store if you're not from San Antonio or Texas. So we're at HEB. I see the chair where you could put your arm into the blood pressure machine. And then so I say, all right, I'm going to get ready, and I'm going to take deep breath. And ultimately, I did that for a minute or two. And then took my blood pressure, and it went down like 30 whole points. So I think this situation is one of those where, like, the more you read, the more stress was rising. The blood pressure was like, and then,
Oh, how would you punish your child? Oh, man. I would be so embarrassed. Like, oh my gosh.
You're gonna crawl into a hole and never come out.
I would be so embarrassed. I would want to forehead punch my child. Oh my gosh, how horrible.
Yeah.
I would feel so embarrassed at myself as a parent. Like, where did
I go
wrong? I would even just hate to say that, because obviously you don't want to feel like that. But I would seriously be asking myself, where did I go wrong that my child is this thing? You know,
this monster. She's a monster.
But yeah, that one.
Yeah. Okay. So the options are, number one, do you do the same thing? Do you offer your child's life savings as a form of retribution?
Yeah.
Do you do that?
Well, okay. That goes into if that was all their money that they had for college, like, oh, she's 16, she knows better. Really, she knows better. Okay, so there is an update that says that the money was not college fund money. She has a college fund. This was her have fun in college money.
Oh, so, plot twist.
Yes. So the original writer says that him and his ex-wife will pay for anything in the college that isn't covered. But this was in case she wanted to, go out to eat with her friends or
spring break trips.
Yeah. Yes, that was all of those. So in those circumstances, yes. That was her have fun in college money. She's only 16. She could work for a little bit, She could work 2 years before she goes off to college. Is she going to make all that money back? Well, she should have thought about that.
Okay, so for you, you're definitely giving the money from the fun money that was for college. You're doing that.
I would feel so bad, though. I don't know what I'd do.
So
I think I'd have to.
Okay. The price for the dress, do we know the price of the original dress?
$12,000. Oh, wait.
Because it was made by the grandma, which is, again, in some way priceless, but there was expensive fabric made to create the dress.
Yeah, so I think that's where they calculated the $12,000. It was like that includes materials and then I think that's just materials. So maybe just materials and then 500 hours spent working on the dress.
500 hours?
Yeah, that's what it said. It said, let's see, right in here, he said that, and put almost 500 hours into making the dress. The dress cost $12,000, give or take.
Okay, and to make sure everybody's following up with us, if you just hopped into the live stream right now, we're talking about the form of punishment you would deliver to your 15 or 16-year-old daughter who tore apart another person's wedding dress, and she has $15,000 saved for college fund money. Would you take that money and provide it to the family that lost the dress? $12,000 for retribution for the dress, $3,000 for emotional distress for the wedding that was coming up. How would you do that? Let us know if you would go that extreme in providing that $15,000, taking all of your daughter's fund money from college that she's worked for thus far.
500 hours? Like, that's a lot of hours.
So the other options I was thinking about is like, is there... I think it all ends up being the same thing, though, right? I think so. In my head, I was going, we negotiate with another seamstress who would make a dress at a lower cost, but then trade out labor hours? But ultimately, it's money or time. It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's punishment. And ultimately, is that illegal? Like the property damage?
Yeah, definitely, probably illegal.
Yeah. So that's where I think when it comes to punishment, I feel like if you're going to do something illegal and damaging somebody's property, and this is going to be a lesser sentence than you going to prison and you learning this lesson, you'll learn this lesson for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
But you also could see how the parents might be equally crushed to have to deliver such a high punishment for such a foolish thing that maybe took, maybe 10 minutes or 15 minutes of anger leads to $15,000 of damage and of a punishment?
Ask all the people in jail right now for murder. How long did it take them to kill this person?
15 minutes of anger for 15 years of prison.
Yeah, $15,000 is, I don't know how much, especially I don't know what state they're in. I don't know how. Yeah. Here in Texas, I'm sure it will be bad.
Did you hear about Yolanda Sandoval getting out, who killed Selena?
No.
Yeah, she's up for parole.
Who's taking one
next
for the
year.
team?
Oh my gosh! Okay, here's the question with the Yolanda. So, would you invite her to the pod?
What? To our pod?
She'd be like a hot guest, not hot like that, but hot like like.
Everyone would hate us, Derek.
We could troll.
We get her on here and we just talk mess to her.
So, okay.
We could show her all the videos over the last however many years it's been of all the people hitting the Yolanda piñatas.
I did not know about this.
You didn't know that? They have like actual piñatas of her and they beat them.
Harsh.
Yep.
So you wouldn't want to have her as a guest?
How are you going to get in touch with her, Derek?
What? Do you think people are that hard to get in touch with in 2024?
I don't know.
I just don't think people are that hard to get a hold of. I'm not saying she'd be willing to do it, but I'm just saying.
Oh, fine. Ask her.
Oh, so now you're open and willing. Ask her. We know where she's gonna be, guys. We know where she's gonna be.
Addie goes out at midnight.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Outside of that, yeah, I suppose. I mean, golly, $15,000. That's just such a heavy hit.
Yeah.
So I suppose, yeah. I guess you got to do what you got to do.
You do.
So is he the jerk for giving that money? So his wife is saying no. Mom is saying no. Don't give. You shouldn't have given that money.
The mom eventually agrees. So at this point in time, the mom was the ex-wife. The mom was thinking, oh, how would you do that? It probably isn't that bad. But when he sent her pictures of it, literally cut to shreds, like it was put through a shredder, the mom's like, oh wait. So then the mom's eventually the one who pries to get her to admit that she did it out of spite and anger. So then, yes, they agree. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Horrible.
Yeah. Well, we just traumatized everyone who's tuning in.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I'm good with that one. All right. So go to mine and then.
Yeah. Then mine. All right.
All right. Next one. Scenario number 3 for the day. Okay. This is. Am I the jerk for starting the movie without my friend? Okay, so here's the deal. I'm the type of person who really values punctuality, especially when it comes to movie nights at home. For me, it's less about the movie itself and more about the hangout, you know? I'm all about the vibes and the chats during and after the movie. I invited a buddy over to watch a new sci-fi flick that just dropped on a streaming service. We decided earlier in the week to start the movie at around 7 p.m. Now, my friend is somewhat notorious for being late to pretty much everything. Anyway, my day was jam-packed with errands, chores, and by the time it was nearing 7, I was already set up, ready to go. I'm someone who likes to start things on time. Particularly because I had planned the rest of my evening around this. It's about 6:45 p.m. and there's no sign of my friend. I shoot him a message, no reply. It hits 7, then 7:15, and still no word from him. I'm getting a bit antsy, and I decide, well, might as well start the movie. I figure he'd catch up, or I could fill him in on what he missed. I'm about 30 minutes into the movie, and my friend finally shows up. He seems cool at first. We're laughing. We're laughing and he's getting into the movie. But then he asks, wait, didn't this movie just start at 7? How far in are we? I tell him we're about 30 minutes in because I started on time. He looks a bit miffed and goes, dude, who starts a movie before everyone's arrived? I explained that I thought he'd be okay with it since he was late and I was sticking to our original plan. Plus, I didn't want the whole night to go off schedule. He kind of shrugged it off, but seemed off for the rest of the evening. We finished the movie, talked a bit, but the vibe had definitely shifted. He left earlier than usual, and I haven't heard from him much today. So, am I the jerk for starting the movie without waiting for him to arrive first?
What else? I mean, so many things. What else did he have going on?
Which
Was it
one?
really that serious?
The second person or the first one?
The person writing it. Like,
Okay.
what else did he have going on for the night?
So you're on the late person side.
I mean, no, I'm not on his side either, but like, is it that big of a deal? Do you feel like it's that big of a deal?
To start a movie on time?
Yeah. I mean, okay, let's say 2 hours, right? If you start at 7, you're going to be done at 9.
Yeah.
But I guess if you start at 8, you're going to be done at 10. I guess it's inconsiderate. You know, people who are late are inconsiderate of other people's time.
Yeah, I think about... Well, okay. I think I find myself... There's this phrase in insurance. So I remember being in the insurance training room. I worked at Nationwide for 7 years. And so the idea then is, let's say there's 3 cars. For those of you who are watching the video, you could see that I'm using some remote controls over here. And let's say car number 1 hits car number 2 and car number 2 hits car number 3. This one doesn't go to this person, number 2's insurance. It goes to the first one. It's called I don't think it's called proximate cause, but it's one of those. It's a phrase. But they're the initial one at fault for causing the whole ruckus. It wasn't person number 2's fault, and it certainly isn't person number 3's fault. So it's person number 1's fault. So I find myself often thinking about this idea when I hear about a conflict, and I'm going, who started this thing? Like, who really started this thing?
Who is the problem?
And it's clearly the late person.
Yeah, it's clearly the late person.
So it makes the least amount of sense for the late person to be ticked off. If they would have arrived on time, it wouldn't be a problem. So I find myself not on the person who started the movie's side, but more of going like, hey, late person, does everybody have feelings? For sure. Can you be disappointed? For sure. But you should blame yourself for causing the disappointment in the first place that resulted in the person starting the movie without you. So what's your problem?
That's true. Yep.
But no, I think it's more about like you're the wrong person to get upset.
Yeah.
When you started it.
But it's the same way that, like, you know, Mom used to get mad at me when I would get upset for being late to like school, because I used to have to be there at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
For like practice or whatever, for like cheer practice or whatever. And I would get upset because Mom she would just run late. Like, I would tell her and I'd be like, come on, we gotta go. And she'd be like, oh, I have to do this. Let me do this. Let me use the restroom one more time before we leave. Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So then I'd end up getting to school like late, you know, not school late, but, you know, I'd get to practice late and I would get upset and I'd be like, why do you do that? And she'd say, well, you know, I'm always late. So why don't you wake me up an hour earlier? And then it's like, like, I guess so. That's why I kind of find myself like, okay, if this guy's notorious for always being late, why don't you tell him to come at 6 o'clock? But yeah, I guess it's like constantly trying to fix the problem, you know?
Yeah.
Like we always have to do with Mom and tell her, please get there an hour earlier?
Right. So let's say if I was providing some kind of
Solution?
counseling to both of these people, and they really want to be friends. They get some counseling or coaching or whatever, and like, hey, what do we do? Okay. If we both believe in full responsibility, then part of the responsibility is, hey, you're responsible for showing up late. Take ownership for that and apologize.
Yeah.
And if you want to actually help him, then you get to do Amy's solution, which was this idea of, lie, lie for his own benefit.
That's not helping. That's not helping Amy's lying recovery.
Lie to make the problem go away and create another line of problems. But I think it's an element of the unfortunate part of doing things with other people. There's that African quote. You've heard it. It says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together.
Yeah.
And the idea is you're slowed down. Your timing is thrown off so much more the more people you have on the trip.
Yeah.
So that's something to be thinking about. So again, if I was talking to the person who posted, and I would say, hey, I would reach out and say, and just check on the other person, see how they're doing, and maybe problem solve. Maybe it's in the future, give a different time.
I do feel like obviously this person cares about their friendship, or they wouldn't be posting it, asking this question.
Ooh, I thought of another scenario.
Scenario, go.
Okay, so person 1 says, hey, it's 6:00. Person 2 shows up 30 minutes late at 6:30. Person 2 thinks, whenever he says the time, it always start 30 minutes late. So then next time, it would start at 7:00. Shows up at 7:30, and the movie's already started. Like, what are you doing?
That's true.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. Again, you're watching. Let us know what you would do if you had a friend show up 30 minutes late for a movie that you're trying to watch at home.
Yep.
And how you would process all that. All right. Are we going to our grand finale of our title?
Yes.
Aimee adopting 3 children. She insists on it.
I've already asked Jimmy. He says we're not allowed to adopt. But I've tried. Anyways, so here's my story. Am I the asshole for telling my wife we can adopt her nephews, but not her niece? My wife's sister was recently found guilty of dealing to support her habit. She will be sentenced this week and is looking towards a long term because this is not her first time caught dealing. She has 3 children, 2 boys, 4 and 5, and a girl, 14. No one on her family's side wants to or are in a position to take the children except for my wife and myself. However, I'm demanding 2 conditions. If we're going to take the children in, I want to adopt them. I don't want 50 people looking over our shoulders trying to tell us what to do. If we're going to be legally responsible for them, I want to be able to parent them as we see fit. The second condition is that I'm willing to take the 2 boys, but not the girl. The two boys have not had any rules in their lives and are terrors, but they're still young and can be taught right from wrong. The girl has gone way past the point of no return. She's been suspended from school several times for things like fighting and smoking illegal substances on school grounds. She's also stolen from us and other family members. She's dating a gang member who was arrested on a home invasion charge, but was released because it was his first offense and his age. This is a mess, and we've been arguing about it for an entire week. I don't want to risk our financial and personal security, but my wife argued that we can't just throw her away. At this point, we're not even sleeping in the same bed, but I'm hesitant to open our house to the girl and her lifestyle. My wife argues that if we don't take her in, she'll go into foster care. But I pointed out if we don't take any of them, they'll all go into foster care. So, is he the jerk?
How old is the girl again?
14.
2 younger kids?
4 and 5.
You call them terrors. Okay. Mm.
Oh.
Is he the jerk or not? I am going with a. How old is she again?
14.
14. Dating a gang member. Caught up in illegal activity.
A thief.
Drugs.
Yes.
Stealing from them and others. Do they have kids?
No.
They don't have kids.
No. Yeah, that's mentioned in the update. They do not have kids.
Ooh.
So if it was you, what would you do?
I think I'm siding with this guy right here.
Me too.
But I think when you initially told me the story, I think maybe it was the way you positioned it.
Yeah.
It was as though you were on the other side. So I'm kind of surprised when you said me too.
No, yeah. Definitely I'm on his side.
Okay, so if the scenario was without the context of her poor behavior and it was two brothers and a sister, normally you'd be like all three or no.
Normally, yeah.
But it's her behavior that makes her problematic to adopt.
Like unappealing to have to put up with. So
are there any, okay, now back to my ABCD stuff. Like, okay, if I can't do it or we can't do it, is there any way to support somebody like this? So
send them to boarding school? Is that still a thing?
That's what I was about to ask you. Is boarding school a thing?
I'd assume so.
Is there, is rehab on the table? Is that I know rehab is real.
Yeah, rehab is real. I mean, that honestly wouldn't be a bad idea either.
I think about if we can't adopt, how often can we get together? So I can't have you in my house, but I want to do my part to be a pivotal role in my life as you would have it.
Yeah.
So does that mean, hey, we're doing Sunday lunch if you, and invite her over? That's the interesting thing I think about even that Christian paradigm. I know sometimes Christians get caught up with like living like, these, I would call them uppity lives and things that are all buttoned up and ironed out.
Yeah.
But the reality of the Christian message is for the worst of us. That's who the Christian message was for. Like when Jesus described it, he's called it, I did not come for the healthy, but for the sick. It's not the healthy who need a doctor, but the sick who need a doctor. So not for the righteous, but the unrighteous, like the sinners, the people, the worst of the worst is like this vision of who he came for. So the idea that I was thinking about, like, would I be regularly having her over and then her boyfriend, the gang member over, and then knowing that she's stolen from us, but again, does that mean, so how does that work? Does that mean, hey, we go out to eat? So they're not in my house?
Ideally.
Yeah. Or at a park?
Yeah. But it's like somebody has to take responsibility for her actions. She's not going to stop acting like that. If you decide that you're going to be her legal guardian, you have to take that. If she's in foster care or however that situation works, I have no experience whatsoever in that. Sure. But if she is not with them and they do get together, you're not really responsible for anything she does. I think when a child is like stealing and doing those kinds of things, it can easily turn into the parents getting into trouble also. So I don't know. They don't, especially let's say in the future, these people wanted to eventually have their own kids. Are they going to be counted as now neglectful parents because this 14-year-old is going and doing drugs and doing all these crazy things, and now there's a CPS case open on them, and now they have all these other problems, and now they're previously CPS parents, and now, all these things that later on in life it's going to cause them problems. I can completely understand that.
Yeah.
So in the update, he talks about how he ends up not being able to convince his wife to not take the girl in. So he leaves. And
wait. He is not able to convince his wife?
Yeah, to not take her in. So the wife takes the kids.
All three.
And he leaves.
He leaves the house and the
Yes.
marriage?
Yeah. So they're in their late 20s. So they're not, they're not young, like old. They're like young. So he leaves the house. He leaves her there with the kids, and I think the girl ends up getting suspended from her school. She gets expelled. She's skipping school. She stole anything that was of value out of the house and sells it. So she's causing all these problems. And he's like, well, that's exactly why I didn't want to be in that situation.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you do? Do you say, I told you so? What do you do?
That's a no. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just have the inner satisfaction of knowing that you knew the truth.
Yeah. So the way it ended up turning out is that. Yep.
So they divorced? Or
I believe that they are in the process.
Wow.
Yep. So let's see.
I blame gender equality on that.
Yes, here it is. It says, this is the last little bit. There, he says, I don't know the exact details of everything that follows, but this is what I've heard from friends. 1, my ex got temporary guardianship of the kids. 2, she moved the kids in and registered them at the local schools. The niece was suspended several times. My ex and her niece got into some heated arguments about her skipping school and letting boys into the house while ex was at work. The niece and her friends cleaned out the house of all valuables one day while my ex was at work, and they left. No one knows where she's at. 5, her family thinks I'm the devil, and things would have gotten much smoother if I stayed and helped her. Apparently, her father and male cousins will rip my head off if we ever run into each other. Then why didn't the father and the brothers take her in?
Good question.
Or cousins. Yeah, so that's...
Good question. These are the scenarios that are multi-layered, multi-implications. Now, see, inside of that, I think if, let's say my wife didn't like hold on to the biblical paradigm. Wives submit to your husbands and everything. Let's say she didn't, and she was saying ultimatum time.
Yeah.
Hey, we don't have a marriage if you don't. That's where things get tricky. Again, there's an empathy I feel for people that struggle to find. Again, I almost compare it to bowling with the guardrails up. To me, is like it's the Christian way of living. You have guides of how to think and how to operate inside of a marriage, or the way you think and the way you speak and the way you behave. You have these guardrails that oftentimes can really prevent you from a lot of drama, a lot of problems. But when people choose to break down part of the guardrail, and you don't have this guideline of operating, moving through life, that's where I can, again, back to the empathy. It's not like, oh, my way's better. But no, I feel for people who don't have a structure or guidelines to help them, because clearly the husband felt like, no, we cannot do this.
Yeah.
And it's dangerous. It's dangerous. It absolutely, to their possessions, I think, to their, with the gang member stuff, that makes the household dangerous. It's made me think, and maybe this is a kind of disconnect, but kind of connected, is there's this is a really famous author and influencer who, she went through, her and her husband they had a podcast together, and they did a marriage conference together. They both wrote books. They're both self-help books, and they went through this divorce. They never really got into the details as far as what took place. And naturally, a lot of people, because they didn't share the details, like a lot of people were like, oh, like, how could y'all have marriage conferences, write self-help books, and then go through a divorce? So they blame really on these external circumstances. Well, last year, the husband died, and he died with cocaine in his system, among other substances. And to me, it shifted the way I thought about it. Mm-hmm. Like, I was like, do I have the traditional Christian perspective where, like, oh, like, hey, you went through a divorce, like, why would you do that? But you just don't know. Like, then once you introduce other factors, again, if your spouse was hooked on drugs and causing a potential harm with drug dealing to the household, to your financial situation, your overall safety, is that a justifiable reason for divorce? And I think people could have that debate. Christians can have that debate. I find myself more merciful and compassionate and understanding toward her going through all that, because she never blasted him if she knew about that from the get-go. But if before it was like, oh no, like how could you go to a divorce after having marriage conferences and after like having being in the Christian space as well. But then when you see the detail of him passing away with drugs in his system, it makes you think differently about everything, you know?
Yep. And yeah, it is hard. Especially like this guy said that he wanted to have his own kids.
Yeah.
So like with all of that, now having all these other kids, his chances of having kids with his wife went down to 0. So to him, it was like, I don't have a future here. 1, she's not listening. 2, now you can't get rid of the kids. The kids are going to be there forever.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it is hard to think about. Obviously, I would hope nobody goes into marriage thinking they're going to get a divorce.
Yeah.
But, life circumstances happen.
Yeah, traditionally, it's unfaithfulness is even a Christian green light for getting a divorce. So there's an unfaithfulness in a marriage. I think there's a pocket of Christianity, I believe, like that's the only reason. But then others as well go when life is threatened, or if there's physical abuse, there's a pockets of Christianity. They're like, oh no, like life is important, like Jesus would have this. Maybe that'd be a time you break the rule in getting the divorce when life is threatened in that way. Which is kind of where I'm at now. Like, okay, what if there was an unfaithfulness, but he's hitting her? Like, what would my advice be to my sister, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, get out of that house. Like, take care of your life, take care of the kids' lives. Like, that would be my input. So it is interesting. I know people get, it's a controversial topic because people have different strong opinions about it. So, yeah.
And I've seen lots of Reddit stories where they're like, oh, I'm in an abusive relationship, but my parents say that I have to stick it out, because they have real traditional views. And they're like, no, you have to stick it out anyways. You just have to be better for your husband, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And it's crazy. Everybody, I've seen it several times in the Reddit groups where women talk like that.
Yeah.
About how their parents say, no, you have to stay anyways, which is hard. For anybody. I think it's hard automatically when you have all the support in the world to leave an abusive relationship, and then it's probably even harder when you have people who are telling you like to just put up with it.
Or even worse, they're saying, hey, God doesn't want you to, or or you're in sin, or it's wicked, or it's evil to leave even though your physical life is at stake. Yeah. So the example of scripture that I'd probably think about is there is a time when his disciples were gathering grain on the Sabbath. They were collecting, which is against the rules. They weren't supposed to collect on the Sabbath. And then the religious leaders at the time stopped them and said, hold on, like, you aren't supposed to do that on the Sabbath. And there's actually an example that they probably could have quoted saying, hey, back in the book of Numbers, like, hey, when the man was collecting wood, he was stoned for doing that. He was killed for doing that. So hey, let's not collect on the Sabbath. But Jesus mentioned an example when King David broke the rule. There was bread that was only supposed to be for the priests, but David was being hunted by King Saul, and so David had went to a priest and he got the bread that was only supposed to be eaten by the priest, but the priest allowed them to break the rule because it was about life. Life was more important than the rule. Yeah. So that's what, when we're talking about like this idea of the Christian vision, or the people who believe in you can get a divorce if there's physical abuse in the household, the idea is life is more important than the rule. Like the life of in this context is like the life of the wife or the life of the kids is more important than the rule of not getting a divorce is like the principle that, again, not all Christians have, but some have adopted. I've adopted something similar, which is life is more important than the rule. Yeah. So all that to say is it's a interesting perspective. And when when you don't have some of that flexibility to examine your beliefs and potentially challenge them as well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have a few minutes left. Should we read one more? Maybe, I don't know if I have an uplifting one. That was a kind of heavy one.
Sadness.
Or anything else that you wanted on that one?
Ooh. I don't think so. I think, would I take them in? I don't know.
Oh, did she end up adopting them?
Yeah, she took them in, but the girl's missing, so.
But she took them in. But you could take people in, but you could foster, I think, kids without adopting. Did she officially adopt them? Do you know?
I think they said she just got temporary guardianship.
Oh, got it.
Temporary guardianship of the kids. Waiting for another update. So if whoever wrote this wants to write an update, I'll be refreshing the page.
Yeah. All right.
But yeah.
Let's see if I got one. Okay, here's one. Maybe lighter than the one we just read.
All right.
All right. Am I the jerk for getting someone banned for life from the only co-working space in the city because he was noisy? So, this, you know what a co-working space is, yes?
Like where you can go in an office and do your own work there?
Yeah, you might have a private
things?
little office. You might have a public office, but you might be other people on different tables. It's almost like a cafeteria, but people are working on stuff.
Yeah, like a library-ish.
Yes. So this co-working space has an area for meetings where you can speak loudly and another area for focus work in which you have to be quiet. A guy was sitting near me in the quiet area and was having an online meeting. He was trying to speak low, but I could still hear him very well. I talked to him and he offered me his earpods, but I did have my own earpods and was tired of wearing them. I asked him to not do the meeting in the quiet area and he refused and said, "The receptionist told me I can talk here in the quiet area." Then he asked me to move to a different table away from him. After that, I heard him telling the person on the other side of the call, he has a serious business, it seems, and I believe he was referring to me. Anyway, I rejected his request to move tables and called the customer service. Things escalated. They asked to move to the shared area where he can speak. He angrily packed up his stuff, and as he was leaving, he said, "I hope you have a nice day now," with a very mean demeanor. And I replied, "Thanks. I really have some serious business to do here." After that, the receptionist confronted him about him saying the receptionist told me I could talk here, the quiet area. Things escalated further, and they banned him for life from entering the facility, the only co-working space in the entire city. I rarely stand up for myself like this, and I always feel super guilty afterwards. So, am I the jerk? And then she also said, the person said, edit, he left me feeling like a Karen. ...
Yeah. Ooh. So obviously he lied. The receptionist didn't tell him it was okay. Right. Like you said, he caused the problem himself.
Yeah.
And if there's a meeting, areas for them to have meetings, if he knew he was gonna have this meeting, even if you have to rent it out or do whatever you got to do, you could have done that. Like being inconsiderate for what? For no reason?
Maybe an extra $50, $100 for a meeting or something like that.
Yeah. Was it really worth his working space?
His lifetime membership.
Lifetime ban. Sadness.
So you're saying he's not the jerk?
I don't think he's the jerk, but I can understand feeling like a Karen now. Sadness. Standing up for yourself, like, okay. Ban for life is crazy though, like.
Is there any places where you would want the authority to ban somebody for life?
Yeah.
Like where? That was fast.
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
You're banned from my house for life.
You're banned from HEB
for life. Yeah, I think everywhere should have a ban for life
clause.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I feel like I gotta believe in redemption.
Oh yeah, I forgot.
Redemption, I think, is a heavy part of my ethos.
Well,
so
You can receive redemption and be in jail, and then you're still banned from going outside.
Yes, this is
for
true.
life. If you're in jail for life, then yeah.
Have you ever seen somebody get arrested in church? 20 years. I'm 20 years into church stuff, so I've seen some things.
No. Where would I have seen that?
I don't
know. Definitely never seen that.
Yeah, there's this guy who was.
Expose him.
I don't know what was really happening behind the scenes, but the minister was chasing him around. What was funny was the guy who was about to be arrested came up to me and talked to me, "Hey, how you doing?" And then the minister's right behind him. I'm like, I'm doing good, right? I'm doing good, but what is happening with you? And then he goes to the next person, "How are you?" And the minister's like following up. And I'm like, what is going on? Then I found out that the police was called so he could be arrested, but the minister was following to make sure he doesn't cause any more trouble by saying bad things about people. So anyway, he was stirring up some trouble, but it was the most nice, cordial, criminal situation that I've ever seen, because he was genuinely going up to people and adapting to the church stuff of, "Hey, how are you? How's your family? How's this thing?" While the minister's following him around because he's about to be arrested. So, yeah.
I wonder. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Have I ever I don't often see people getting arrested. The only times I see people getting arrested is like on the side of the road.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much it.
There we go. All right. I have an idea for a preview for next time. Okay. So this is a comment to leave in the chat. If you know a song that has made you cry, put it into the chat, because next week on our pod, we're going to be discussing the songs that have made us cry. And if you put a song in there, we will listen to it before the pod. Naturally, I don't think we could play it on the pod.
Yeah.
But we will read the lyrics if the lyrics hit you in a special way. So maybe we'll give them a little bit of a preview of that. And so we'll be thinking about the songs and the song lyrics that will bring in each of us that have caused us to tear up. And then we'll also discuss any songs that people put in the chat as well, as a courtesy to people being our loyal followers. All right. Any last words before we wrap?
Nope. That's it.
All right, everybody. See you next time. Tuesday, 12 o'clock. Be here. Be ready. We'll discuss the songs that make us cry. And maybe we'll even shed a tear on the episode.
Great.